Let's talk about the football and then beyond the football. Adam Smith, Inside Carolina. I'm probably going to guess right here that you're thrilled to not address the cover of Us Weekly. So let's get into the football. It is against.
I need to read that, by the way. I should read that. I have not read it.
I have not. It's probably at wherever you shop for groceries, Adam. I'm sure it's right there, right below In Style, or like the. Do we still have the Star? Is the National Enquirer still a thing? Weekly World News. Well, it's probably in there somewhere. Yeah. I'm not going to read it. I don't really want to know. I don't care. The football. How did UNC at Central Florida or Central? How did that look to you?
Not good.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, if I'm going to toot my own little horn here, I wrote. Well, there's a bunch of stuff that I wrote, and one of them was. It was kind of like an anvil over the head in terms of a reality check. And that was all based on the tunnel that you walk through. If you're the visiting team, the tunnel that you walk through to get into the bounce house at UCF, there's a bunch of cartoon drawings of the mascots in the Big 12.
Right.
And it's kind of cute. It's kind of cute, actually. But, I think Carolina fans have been looking at that game, AG, like, if you were dealing in reality, beyond the hype and the pomp and the circumstance and the buzz of the opener against TCU on Labor Day, I think what you were looking at was you figured Carolina would lose to TCU, a competent team with a very good quarterback, that they would beat UNC Charlotte and Richmond as they did, and then the season would sort of start in some ways with the UCF game, which this is a schedule with a bunch of toss-up games, and that looked like maybe a toss-up game that you could win. I mean, I think UCF's picked next to last in the Big 12. Yeah. Gus Malzahn got the heck out of Dodge down there to go be FSU's offensive coordinator.
Right.
They've obviously brought back Scott Frost, but you looked at that game as like a 50-50 game maybe, and it was not a 50-50 game. I mean, they got beat down.
Yeah.
It was 27-3 in the second half when Gio Lopez got hurt. If you add it all up, if you take they played 2 games against teams from power conferences. They've been outscored 82-23 in those 2 games. It wasn't good. And I will tell you, maybe this is an entertainment show. I was thinking when you said how was UCF. It was kind of fun the way that we went into the stadium from where we were staying. You go by all these fraternity and sorority houses,
right?
And the banners, the 2 road games that UNC has played, the chants and the banners have not been kind to the Belichick,
right,
Jordan Hudson relationship. There was some signs about keep Bill away from the student section. There are other signs that not fit for FCC approval, probably. At UNC Charlotte, they had a chant, Bill likes freshmen. Clap, 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 clap. Bill likes freshmen. So these teams that have been beating them have been enjoying beating them, obviously.
Adam Smith, Inside Carolina, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show at Adam_Smith_IC. And that is this is an entertainment show. I've spoken to college classes and asked that question at the front. What is my job? My job, first and foremost, is to entertain. If we accidentally inform people along the way, it's just an added bonus. And I'm all about the jokey jokes about it. But I also I think that too many people are taking those elements of this too seriously because I really don't think they impact the football. Now, North Carolina went into this season with 70 new players from a year ago. Central Florida had 67 new players from a year ago. So there is something in the evaluation process that has been may be different for other schools than it has been for North Carolina. We were talking to my friend Chip Patterson yesterday, and Chip said that Carolina had like the ninth rated transfer portal class based on all the players that went to whatever schools during the portal. Now maybe that's in numbers, and maybe the individual talent. My read on it going into this game, and I actually forecasted about 3 weeks ago, was we're not going to learn anything from Charlotte. We're not going to learn anything from Richmond. If we did, it was bad. And I gave them a pass for Charlotte, which frankly wasn't good. I said we were going to learn based on what we saw from Central Florida. That's when we were going to learn. And if I was right then, I think what we learned is that there just aren't enough good players to beat even ACC caliber teams. And that's eye-opening. Should be eye-opening for the coaching staff, no?
I certainly think they need more talent. I mean, after watching them for 4 games, I certainly think they could use more talent. Obviously, I mean, who couldn't?
Right.
But I certainly think you see that when you watch Carolina play, and I think that if you're a UNC football fan right now on the bye week, you're pretty dang frustrated about the quarterback play. Right. Now, I do think that I do think that there's been sort of a lack of creativity, in my opinion, in play calling on offense. You see the running back slamming into a line where there's not much there. I don't know if that's on the O-line, the running back, whatever it is. But, you look at how many teams, look at it like a Virginia and how much better they have been when they upgraded at quarterback with the Chandler Morris kid, Chad Morris's son. They are a completely different team. I don't know if they're going to beat FSU on Friday night, but they are, they look great. Virginia does. Syracuse looked great. Yeah, I know the Notre Dame transfer got hurt at Clemson, but Syracuse has looked great. Duke was good last year, and I think people would agree they significantly upgraded at quarterback the way they won games last year. So I think Gio Lopez, who I like, I've enjoyed getting to know him. He's kind of been a bust so far through 4 games. Right. Carolina's offense, AG, is just not in a good place. I was crunching the numbers the other day. They are on pace. If they keep this current pace, it's going to be their fewest total yards per game, their worst total offense since like 1989, since the MAC 1.0. They haven't forget throwing for 300 yards. They haven't even thrown for 175 yards yet. And that's another thing. There's a laundry list you can go down.
No question.
There's really no vertical passing game. I think it's over 40% of Lopez's completions have been behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
It's sure they need some more talent. I had not to pick on them and rub it in their face, but we were sitting right beside of 2 NFL scouts from the Texans and the Dolphins the other day at UCF, and I just was talking to them because I can be kind of a personable guy. And they said that they were there to see UNC because, this was their area and they wanted to see UNC. They wanted to see guys on both sides. They wouldn't tell me who, but they wanted to see guys on both sides of the ball. And they were gone before the first half was up. They got up and left.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, they haven't played an ACC game yet, but you could be looking at a pretty bad ACC record here. And they miss – who is it they miss? They don't play Miami.
Right.
They don't play Florida State. They don't play Georgia Tech. They don't play Louisville. And they don't play SMU in league play. They do play Clemson, but Clemson obviously has been a disaster so far.
Right. Yeah, but we know – well – we don't know anything about Clemson, I guess. But Cal's suddenly good. Virginia's dangerous. Syracuse is good. We'll see what happens with a new quarterback. Suddenly the schedule doesn't look nearly as easy, again, relative to Carolina, as it did at the beginning of the season. let's drop football. No, not literally drop football because they've invested a lot in the program, so I'm not suggesting that. But I wanted to get to, before we left, something you wrote the other day that I found fascinating. I know part of this is about Roy Williams, but part of it is also Tyler Hansbrough's teaching a class at UNC. I could not be more interested. I wish I could go back to school. I would love to take.
You can.
I guess I could. I would love to take a class taught by Tyler Hansbrough. I know Roy Williams spoke to the class. Talk to me about that class and what Roy was doing.
But I appreciate you bringing it up. It's funny you talk about going back to school. I have gone back to school this semester, just sort of following Hansbrough around. I've been over there twice now, and I have to give major props to the professor. It's a sports communication class over at UNC, and the professor, Livis Freeman, is just a great dude who has been good to us at Inside Carolina for a long time, and he Tyler's first class, Tyler's debut in class, he invited us over there, and I went over there, and so Roy showed up the other day. It was last week, I think, or the week before, and Roy was like a guest lecturer, and I will tell you that Roy Williams still has the fastball. I mean,
of course,
there were so many stories that we all have heard before. So many of those Roy stories. But honestly, it was pretty fascinating. I hadn't anticipated it. When you get to be our age,
right.
You sort of feel like you know what's coming no matter what, even if you're covering a game. But I had not anticipated how an audience of 20-year-old kids, juniors and seniors at Carolina would receive, this person who is a living legend to them. That they grew up with their dads and their moms and their older siblings. Like I was sitting, since I've been there a couple of times now, I always sit in the back, and I don't take up an actual desk. There's some places you can sit in the back. And a young woman came in, sat down right beside me, like, "Can I sit here?" And I was like, "Sure." She wasn't even in the class, but had heard that Roy was going to be there, and she grew up in the Greensboro area, and she wanted to come see Roy talk. It's what I'm trying to say is that it was fascinating to see an audience that age react to these stories that we've all heard before. And I put it in there, if anyone has a chance to go read it. He had them crying at one point. He was crying.
Oh,
they
wow.
were crying. I mean, he had them laughing too, but he was playing the hits, and it was sort of like one of these speeches that, well, it wasn't a speech. It was just sort of, I believe I called it a fireside chat. AG, it was one of these things. It was one of these things that only Roy could give you. He talked about going to UNC and feeling like he was in New York City, is the way he called it. I was the littlest fish you ever did see, he said. But it was great. He had Michael Jordan stories. He had a couple of Jordan stories I hadn't heard before. Phil Ford stories, had everything. Dean Smith, he had them, at attention, talking about meeting his wife, Wanda, in ninth grade algebra back in Asheville. It was fascinating. It was fascinating. I was glad that I went. It was a little tough because Belichick was going to be talking that day too, but I decided to go see what Roy was up to, and Roy did not disappoint. It was fascinating. The story's on Inside Carolina if anybody wants to try to find it.
It is great. You did a great job with that, and I look forward to a follow-up. But with Professor, he's not a professor, associate professor.
Yes, lecturer maybe?
Well, no, I was thinking about Tyler.
He's an adjunct professor. He's a visiting professor.
Wow, that is amazing.
If you can believe it.
That is amazing. Adam Smith, Inside Carolina, at Adam_Smith_IC. Enjoy, I don't know if it's a week off or not, but enjoy no football for you on Saturday. Thank you, man.
Yeah, man, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. Adam Smith, always fun.